Well, here's take 152 on this particular story. It's been almost impossible for me to get this one out, guys. I get tongue twisted and all kinds of stuff going on, interruptions, this, that, and the other thing. It's almost like the powers that be don't want this story to come out, but it's coming out anyway. I'm not the only one reporting on it, obviously. But Europe's latest and little noticed anti-Russian move, well, yes. To answer this question here, I do believe it pushed the world closer to World War III. Yes, it did. Because this is quite possibly, like it says here, the biggest Russia-West provocation of the entire 4-month-long war in Ukraine. But of course, no one's reporting on it, so I will, at least not in the mainstream. But this single event, guys, has the ability to make this spiral out of control and fast. Here's Kaliningrad. It's an enclave of Russia. It has 1 million Russian citizens in it, approximately. And there's an agreement in place. There's been an agreement in place between Lithuania and these other countries, between Russia and Kaliningrad. There's been an agreement in place since 1993 that all rail transit would be unhindered, unencumbered. They wouldn't mess with it, in other words. Well, now they're messing with it. Now they're basically blockading 1 million Russian citizens and Russian territory, of course. And now it's given way to fears of panic buying in the Russian oblast. But they're urging citizens not to resort to panic buying, as they're saying that their ferries will handle all the cargo. But guys, they can't replace that very fast with ferries. We're talking about 7 of them here, maybe 8. That's not going to replace all that rail traffic. So Russia's going to have to break through this blockade, and they will. And I don't know why the West keeps thinking that Putin's bluffing. He hasn't bluffed about any of this. And yet everybody in the West, including alternative media, is sitting there going, oh, he's not going to do anything. He's not going to, they're just talking smack again. Russia's not going to do a darn thing. And they said the same thing about Ukraine. So just saying, well, here's a copy of that treaty that's been in effect since 1993 that allows for the transit of goods to Kaliningrad. If you want to read it, go ahead. I'll put the link up as always. But in Brussels, they justified it by saying that sanctioned goods and cargo should still be prohibited, even if they travel from one part of Russia to another, but through EU territory. Well, that's their excuse that they're using. But in Moscow's eyes, this is tantamount to laying economic siege to part of Russia's sovereign territory and 1 million of its citizens. So they said that they would break the blockade for the sake of its citizens back in April, when a State Duma official said this. Statements from the West about a possible blockade of Kaliningrad is testing the waters, but Russia can break the blockade in case these threats become a reality. It has an experience. And that's from Vladimir. I'm not going to pronounce his last name. But he's, well, look at this long title. First Deputy Head of the Federation Council's Upper House Committee for International Affairs. Really? That's worse than the United States titles. I thought they were long and ridiculous. Anyway, he said back on April 6th that I think for now, this is a game testing the waters. In case of a blockade, as they were saying, the Soviet Union knows how to break blockades. We, and of course, he was talking about the Soviet Union, but he probably meant Russia, have vast experience. He said, if they want to go to the length of making us break this blockade to save the lives of our people who live there, we can do this. And he said that he hoped that the West would have enough brains to opt against this. Well, the leaders in the West probably don't have 2 brain cells to rub together between all of them. I mean, that's how stupid and idiotic they're being here. So the governor of Kaliningrad is already calling on the Russian federal authorities to prepare tit-for-tat measures against Lithuania. And he said these steps are illegal and may entail far-reaching implications for Lithuania and the European Union. Yes, they will, up to and including nuclear war. But that's what they want. They need the Great Reset, and they need a war to do it. Now, to go along with this, the British head of the military has been on the job 4 days. He's telling his troops to prepare for World War III. This is General Sir Patrick Sanders. Chief of the General Staff has just taken the position, and he has already told the army they need to prepare for war against Russia in Europe. He has told every soldier to prepare to fight Russia in a potential World War III. He pledged to form an army that can beat Russia in battle and said that we must now prepare to fight in Europe once again. He said, or he added on his 4th day in the job, there is now a burning imperative to forge an army capable of fighting alongside our allies and defeating Russia in battle. Well, that's not going to happen, but that's what they're talking about anyway. I mean, it's probably going to happen, the war. And Russian troops will be fighting UK troops directly. And they probably already are, because the SAS is already there in Ukraine. But the point is, NATO and the US are not going to win this war, especially after it turns nuclear. Now, for Russia, for their part, they're playing by their own rules, and they're saying it's their new rules. They're also saying that they're done with the West, and now the divorce is nearly complete. In the past 2 days, we've heard from all major Russian leaders the same thing. The West will play by our rules now. So you can decide for yourselves whether Russia's writing checks they can't cash, but in the words of Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, telling the BBC bluntly, we do not care about the eyes of the West. And Lavrov has always been the soul of politeness and discretion when dealing with the European media. That's changed a little bit, however. His open hostility to the BBC interviewer was not only palpable, it was hard to argue with. He followed that up with, I don't think there's even room for maneuver left anymore. And he also said, because both Prime Minister Johnson and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss say publicly we must defeat Russia. We must bring Russia to its knees. Well, go on then, do it. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Stop talking smack. In fact, I'm tired of everybody in this war on both sides talking smack. But now Russia's leadership is talking in openly blunt terms, and they hardly ever do that. It's almost like Lavrov was channeling comedian Dennis Miller, who used to say, feeling froggy, take the leap. Yeah, well, Russia knows it has the West on the ropes. We need what they produce, and now they're determined to set the rules on who gets them and for what price. It knows that European leaders are puppets with Klaus Schwab's hand up their behinds. And it knows that Davos has zero leverage over Russia's actions from here on out. So I'll let you read the rest on your own, but they're done playing, guys. They don't care what the West thinks anymore. And now with this latest move in Kaliningrad, wow, they're definitely not going to care. And as for the war in Ukraine itself, Ukraine is now saying they're preparing for the worst in the Donbass, as Kharkiv will likely be the next frontline city. And they say that the Russian Defense Ministry is citing fresh successes in the Donbass region after reports days ago that Ukrainian forces may have stalled their advance in Severodonetsk. But now they're saying the offensive in Severodonetsk direction is developing successfully, and that they're moving forward, and that they've taken a key village at the city's eastern edge. At the same time, the Ukrainian governor of Luhansk province has admitted that the situation in Severodonetsk is very difficult, as Ukrainian fighters are outnumbered and outgunned. And so it's not looking good for Ukraine on any front, but now it's going to get worse in Kharkov. And we're going to hear more reports from Gonzalo there, I'm sure, because that's where he lives in Ukraine. So there you go, guys. That is the latest. But this move right here, this may very well be the catalyst that sends everything spiraling out of control in this war. So there you go. That is it for now. Don't forget, don'tspeaknews.com, home base for everything else that we do, especially news that we can't speak about anywhere else. And so we do have a fundraiser going. We got much closer to the goal over the weekend. So I don't know why it hasn't updated yet, but we're up over 1,300 now. So we're almost to the goal of 1,500. I thank you guys very, very much for that. I'll have to see why that's not updating. But anyway, put all kinds of stories here that we can't speak about anywhere else, or maybe that I just don't have a chance to report on, including this one right here about U.S. public health laws and how they subverted the Constitution. And we can't speak about that and many other stories that I put here on YouTube. So don'tspeaknews.com, home base for everything that we do. All right. Well, that's it for now. God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm. Don't speak.